Hey, welcome to the show, and today I want to talk to you about different cameras. All the cameras on the table are film cameras, and I want to show you a little guideline about the differences between them all. First are the SLR cameras, which we all know, which is a single lens reflex cameras, and they're called reflex because there's a mirror that reflects the light that goes through the lens. So these are, for example, a hasselblad. It's an SLR. Here you see the mirror, you're seeing through the lens, and you can compose your image seeing exactly what the lens sees. You won't have any surprises when you shoot this, except for some viewfinders do crop a little bit. So you can see the mirror. Let me take the lens off, and you can see there's a mirror inside. This mirror will go down and help you expose your film, so there's no interference with that. Also, you have the typical SLR, looks like this Pentax 6x7. You have the lens, which the image comes in through, the mirror that reflects the image into the prism, and the prism corrects the image so you see it the right way up and the right way around. If I take off the prism, you would see the same thing as a Hasselblad, and you can actually use a waist level finder on this camera. But that prism will help you see things the straight way. So that would be SLRs, which are all the modern Nikon and Canon professional cameras are all SLRs. Next are the rangefinders, and this is a Leica rangefinder, which is called the rangefinder because it has a split image rangefinder. This is the view you're getting of the image, which is never through the lens. The lens is straight into the body and into the film. If I take the lens off, you have the curtain, the shutter curtain there. So there's no mirror here. They're usually smaller cameras, as you can see. And then the rangefinder works by getting some light into this window, goes inside the window and reflects the split image in your window. And this will help you focus. As you focus this, if it's coupled with the rangefinder, you can see the image aligning or disaligning depending on you're focused or not. So those are the Leicas and the rangefinders. You have Mamiya's rangefinders, medium format rangefinders, large format rangefinders like the Graflex, and some of the Linhof cameras are rangefinders. So rangefinder is by the kind of way you focus, which is, as I told you, a split rangefinder image. After the rangefinders, I want to talk to you about point and shoot. Point and shoot cameras are compact usually, and they're basically cameras that you open, you get ready to shoot, and you just don't have to think about anything. Exposure, f-stop, and everything is done for you. So you just have to put a roll inside, and in this case with 35 millimeters, it has the DX code, so I don't even have to touch that, and just take pictures of my family or holidays or anything like that. In the point and shoot, you have point and shoots like this one, the Olympus MJU. Also have the disposable cameras, which are cameras that you buy, you shoot the 36 pictures, you take it to your lab, they'll break it open, develop your film, and there's no more use for that camera. Ilford recently came out with a line of disposable cameras, and I'll leave the link below so you can find them. Then we have instant cameras. These instant cameras, when you take a picture, they expose the film directly, and the film just pops out of the camera and you have a positive image. So this would be a Fuji Instax 210, and this uses Fuji Instax film. This film is loaded into the back and comes out this little slit on the top. These are fun cameras to have for your family, for a little trip or a wedding, if you want to have something different and immediate. This is more of a traditional one, which is a Polaroid. Is a passport camera. It would give you those 4 pictures in your passport with different lenses. You could take one or the other, any of these, or you could use 4 at the same time. The most known instant cameras were the Polaroid cameras, but those are no longer made, and you have other brands like Instax or Lomography making instant cameras. They basically all use Instax film or use Fuji instant film. Next, we have toy cameras, which are considered toy because of the quality of the cameras is usually more like a toy than a real camera. They still take great pictures, and you have something like the Holga, which is no longer made. It just recently stopped production. This is the 120 GN, which means glass lens. And this is basically an easy camera. You're supposed to just have very simple settings. You set it focus to portrait, group, big group, or landscape. So that's the focus for that. And then you just shoot. It usually has 1 shutter speed at the most, maybe 2. And this is the Diana Plus which is also a toy camera. This is the one my daughter uses, and it's basically the same. You have focusing, you have a little lever to shoot your camera, so that's just a little spring that exposes the film, and that's all there is to this kind of camera. They give interesting results. Some people like them, some people hate them. I have two, and I don't use them enough, but they're pretty good. Then you have stereo cameras, which I don't have with me. Those cameras are traditionally two same lenses shooting on a piece of film at a distance. So those usually is a distance of your eyes. So those two pictures, when you develop it and you use a special mask, you can see that picture in stereo because you will see a 3D feeling. The most known camera is usually the Kodak stereo. Then we also have folding cameras, which are cameras that the lens folds into the body and they usually remain flatter. You have examples like the Plowbell Machina. Also, some press cameras in the large format are folding cameras, or the traditional older cameras like the Agfa Isolet and cameras like that. These are quite nice because they usually fit in a smaller space, but also sometimes the bellows tend to break and give problems with light leaks. I don't have any examples on the table, but I'll link some pictures on the description. Then we have panoramic cameras. Panoramic cameras to me are divided into two different cameras. You've got the lens rotating panoramics like the wide looks, which has a little turret and it takes a picture and it just goes round and gives that panoramic look. You also have this one, which is a bigger version of the wide looks, which is a horizon 205. And this just, every time you shoot, the lens just turns around and gives you that panoramic. Then you have panoramic cameras that don't turn the lens, like the X-Pan or their Linhof 6x17 and 6x12 cameras. Then we also have the old cameras, which were called box cameras. These cameras traditionally were made by Kodak with a Brownie, and they were just a box with a roll of film, a little window for the lens, and you would just take that picture, send the camera to Kodak, and they would do the rest, as they used to say. I also have this Agfa Clack, which is a box camera. Has a little viewfinder on the top to kind of compose your image, but it's a very simple, basic camera. These were the cameras that were used back in the day and made photography popular. Then we also have pinhole cameras. Any of these cameras can be turned into a pinhole by changing the lens cap or the lens to a pinhole. But I do have a pinhole camera that only takes pinholes, and this is the Harman Titan, and you just have a little pinhole in the front and it exposes the film with that little pinhole. Pinhole doesn't use a lens, but that little hole will make everything focused. Then we have TLR cameras, which are twin lens reflex cameras. These cameras have two twin lenses, which one on the top points at the mirror that gives you the image you compose on, and then the one on the bottom just goes straight into the camera. You see the bottom lens goes straight onto the film, and the top lens has the mirror. This is a Yashica matte 6x6. Then I have a Mamiya C330, which is a TLR2. This is the only TLR that I know that you can change the lenses, which makes it quite big, but also quite useful. It has bellows to focus, and that will help you get in closer. Last, we have large format cameras, which I will show you in the next video. But basically, this is a large format camera made by Wanderlust, and it's a travel wide. This is a fixed cone, and you use a 90 in this case and a little helical to focus, but it basically takes sheet film, as I've told you before. And you have monorails, you have banquet cameras, you have field cameras. They're all very much the same, even though each one has a specific use. Monorails are usually for studio architecture. Field are usually lighter and they can fold onto a backpack, so you can go hiking. And then you have the press cameras. You have the Linhof, the Graflex, and so on. I'm not going to show you any large format because the ones I have are too big to put on the table. Then we have certain cameras that are not really easy to put into a category, but are a mix of other cameras. You have the Hasselblad Super Wide, which is a fixed lens. There's no mirror. It just goes straight onto the film, but it is manual focus. So I consider it a point and shoot because you just kind of like pre-focus with hyperfocal and shoot without even looking much through it. Then we have a Fuji GA645W, which I consider a point and shoot, but is not actually really a point and shoot, as you can change the settings and you can manual focus. But it is kind of a easy camera to use if you want to be fast. So that's all for today, and I hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one.